In these times of uncertainty, it's all the more important that we keep collaborating, informing, and inspiring each other, so that we can be smarter and better tomorrow. Welcome to the Pakhuis de Zwijger livecast.
And goedenavond, welcome to a special Q&A session about the documentary Angels on Diamond Street, organized by Movies That Matter and Pakhuis de Zwijger. In a few minutes, I will have a conversation with the directors of the documentary, Corinne van Egeraat and Petr Lom, and Pastor Rikko Voorberg, here in the studio in Amsterdam, and one of the main characters of the documentary, Barbara Easley-Cox, via the Zoom. Online, because she's right now in Philadelphia, and with you, the audience, the viewers. We will discuss three subjects. The main, we will start with the process of the making of the documentary with the directors, and then about the work they do in Philadelphia in the church, and the final subject would be about the undocumented people here in Holland and in the United States. It's an online session, so there are three important issues. First of all, 1 hour. It will take 1 hour. And according to my Bible, 1 hour, it means 1 hour. The second thing is about the technical stuff. You know, sometimes things can get wrong, you know, but the people, the technicians, they assured and reassured me that everything at the end of the day will come around. Everything will be all right. And the final thing, most important thing is for us, the Zoom issue. So we have two tiles. We have the chat tile. So maybe we can see it. You know, we have, if you watch it, yes. We have the chat, so you can discuss the subjects and the questions among each other. But for us here in Amsterdam, the most important is Q&A. So if you have a question or if you have a remark, please don't be shy to do that, but I will suggest that you will address it directly to one of the speakers. So if you have a question, please address it. For example, I have a question for Barbara, or I have a question for Corinne. So in that way, it makes it a little bit easier for me to pass the question. And me, it means my name is Bahram Sadeghi. I have the great honor and maybe greater responsibility to be your moderator, to be your host for this session. Enough about me. Let's go to the great documentary. We will start off with a short video, short clip, and after that, let's say less than 2 minutes, I will be back with the directors of the documentary. So start the clip.
Blessed are you, holy and living one. You come to set people. This is not just a parish where I call people together for worship. This is a place where we call people together for social justice. I think our soup kitchen, now called the Advocate Cafe, has been operating for 34 years, and it started based on a model of the Black Panthers feeding program. That the Black Panthers went into communities and they recognized that children were going to school hungry and they're going to bed hungry. And that as a community, we need to be responsible for that.
Mm-hmm. We did the macaroni.
Yes. Ooh.
How many trays you got of mac?
Ooh.
Mamie?
2.
Good.
Look at that, macaroni and cheese.
Oh. That ought to be good.
Yes.
You have a lot of stories this time of year about giving back, being thankful, helping others. But you don't hear a lot about Plymouth, where the first Thanksgiving took place. And the Native Americans, to my knowledge, maybe not all, but many, are like, it's not a true story because you took advantage of us. Mine.
This yours?
No, that's mine. That's yours.
Oh.
My thing is, go out, volunteer somewhere, don't stay home, and give back. You know, you give back. And Take back, give back. I know, my back too.
Right now, here with me, Corinne and Peter. I'm so glad that you made this documentary. But first, I want to know why and when and how, to, let's say, for the lack of better word, white people from Europe going to Philadelphia and making a documentary about a church predominantly visited by and run by Afro-Americans. How did it come all together? So take us back to the moment.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it was your friend that we met.
Yeah, one of my best friends lives in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I have to press a button? Or is it okay?
No.
You
Just
can hear
be
me.
close to
One
it,
of my
yeah.
best friends lives in Philadelphia, a friend from graduate school, and he told us about the New Sanctuary movement, I guess about 6 or 7 years ago.
Excuse me?
The New Sanctuary movement.
New Sanctuary.
Yeah, and that's the organization that organizes these churches all around the U.S. to take in undocumented migrants, right?
And we will talk about
Yeah.
it in the let's say in half an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he told
But
you
he told us
that.
about it, and he told us about that it comes from an Old Testament ideal, biblical ideal of a church as a tent with doors on all 4 sides where everybody's welcome. And that stuck to Corinne. He said, oh, wow, what a beautiful story, what a beautiful ideal. So we visited the office, and that was before Trump was elected. I made a bad joke when we were inside visiting the director. I said, oh, you don't have too much to do. But if Trump who should happen to win the election, I guess things will change, And
So
of course
which
it
year
did.
was it exactly?
I guess, I don't know. This is about 5
5
year
years
before
ago?
the election.
So
Yeah.
2015.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. By the way,
Yeah.
are you religious?
Are we religious?
Yeah.
I would say deeply spiritual, but not belonging to a denomination of any kind.
None of
Same,
you.
yeah, same goes for me.
Yeah.
Same goes for you. Okay. Okay. So when you went there, and how did they
Yeah.
reply?
Well, then but the story evolved. So that was the topic came
Yeah.
up, but you don't have a story.
Yeah.
So and then my friend sends me a newspaper article about Carmela 3 years ago now, I guess.
Yeah.
So I just went to the U.S. I was going for a friend's birthday anyway, his 50th birthday. And then I thought, I'm going to change my ticket and take the train down from Boston to Philadelphia. And I, of course, emailed people, and you start to do the get access stuff that you normally do as part of the work. And then I got to this place, and I met Carmela. She was open and amenable to making a film. I liked her very much.
Carmela is the Mexican lady
Yeah.
with her 4 children
Yeah.
who took
Yeah.
shelter in the
In the
church.
church, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's one of our main
Yeah.
subjects, undocumented people. So that was for you, Carmela in the church.
That was the start.
the angle. Am I
That was
right,
the
Corinne?
start. Yeah,
That was the start.
Was
Yeah.
the starting
But of
point.
course, so we were interested in the idea of sanctuary. But then you go to this Church of the Advocate, and then you meet the staff there and the people there, and you think, wow, of course we have to make a film here.
Yeah. Did you have any idea about the, let's say, rich and extraordinary background of the church at that time?
Not really, yeah.
Not when I went there at first,
No.
no. And it's like, you meet Barbara, she's, let me take you on a tour of the murals. And you're like, are you kidding? What is this?
Yeah.
Right, so, yeah.
By the way, Peter, correct
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I hear kind of, American-ish accent in
Yeah.
your. Are you American?
No, I'm not. A lot of people actually say I have more and more of a Dutch accent. So I'm grateful
That's
that you
my,
say that.
Okay.
No, I was
Influence.
born in Prague. And then after the Russian invasion in '68, we fled to Canada. So that's my background. And I think that's why I'm attracted to these sorts of subjects too. So.
Oh, yeah,
More
maybe.
sensitive to the idea that to have a home is a pretty privileged thing to have these days.
I
so.
see. Interesting. And by the way, how many languages you speak? Because I heard you in the documentary speaking. I don't know. In my ears, like fluently Spanish.
Yeah, it's Spanish. Sometimes it switches to Portuguese by mistake because
Yeah.
we're working on another film. But my Spanish is not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Oh, you are so modest.
Yeah. Well, my Dutch is terrible, so don't.
And how about you, Corinne? Because you were there at the same time. Because you are
Yeah.
also director of the photography.
Yeah.
So was it? You both of you were the directors, yeah?
We're a team.
You are a team, and
We're
you
a
are a
team.
couple.
And a couple.
Am I
I'm
right?
officially
Yes.
the director, and Corinne is officially the producer because
Okay,
you
yeah.
have to wear hats.
And that's why you are now in the midst of this corona and stuff. You are sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you are a couple.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right,
okay. You are a couple. Good, it's good for you.
Yeah.
And good for us so to have you here. And Corinne, could you please tell us something about, when you start a movie, sometimes the things go well, sometimes go not that well, as they say in Dutch, sometimes you get like presents, you get gifts from like a higher power, But other times, you think, I've prepared everything, 100%, but things go bad.
Yeah.
Give us maybe one or two examples of that.
From this film.
Yes, from this film.
So I guess that the presents were the three women that we got to know in the church.
Renee.
So that's Renee, the head of the church. Then there is Barbara, who you're going to speak to later. And Mamie, who's the chef of the soup kitchen.
Oh my God, she's so lovely.
Yeah, so they are the big presents.
Yeah.
They are the reason why the film is called Angels on Diamond Street. So they were actually angels, right?
And Barbara didn't like the title at first.
Okay.
So that's I think really wonderful, and a lot of other people inside this congregation and in this community were very special. North Philadelphia is one of the poorest postcodes in the U.S. So it's amazing how many people in that community are volunteering to help people that are even less fortunate than they are. So that was very impressive. And we didn't know that before we started, but it was definitely something that inspired us in the filmmaking. Now, things that kind of were difficult is we made this film over the course of almost 2 years, but we are based in the Netherlands. So sometimes we were constantly in touch with them, but sometimes things happen, and then you have to all of a sudden kind of run to the US,
And you miss the momentum?
Well, or not. So I guess that the one time when you got really, really lucky was Peter was supposed to go there for a normal shooting period. And normally we would fly to New York, rent a car, and drive. You would stay maybe in New York and then drive. I said, I have this hunch, maybe you should just drive there straight away. I don't know why. So he lands in New York, he takes the car, goes to Philadelphia, and then what happened?
And what happened?
When I go to the church, it's a Wednesday. Usually they would have the gospel singers that you see in the films.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to show up at church at, not too early, and that's the scene I'm going to film. And I get there, and the secretary of the church tells me, she says, you got to go downtown. Carmela and the priest are protesting. And that was the scene.
So the whole protesting in front, was it in front of
the senator's office
of the
Just
Republican
inside.
guy? Yes, I see. Okay. By the way, how many hours is the film? Is it 1.5 hours or less?
The film is 85 minutes.
85 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
When I watched the film, I thought, who am I? I thought, it's about the church. It's about the church. Angels of the church. Yeah. And so, and it took 1 hour and 9 minutes, 69 minutes before I saw the nice sermon. Before I saw, I guess it was Barbara, just telling her story, So, why you? Because you are the directors. So you took 69 minutes. Give me the church. Why?
You're trying to embarrass it in front of for the pastor, is that it?
No, tell me, because I know making a film is all about choices you are making. So why did you make that choice?
Well, I guess I've basically never had that question before, so it's quite interesting. But I guess the short answer is that the heart of the film is the soup kitchen, where you feed people, right? And everything that happens around there. So in a way, the church is kind of the background behind that, right? So it's, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, you are inside the church the whole film.
Yeah.
You're right.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Right.
When you're right.
Yeah.
Right.
We never leave the...
The only time, in fact, we leave only twice. Once is for the protest, because we have to, and then once when we go to Barbara's house to have a chat with her about her life, right? But she lives across the street from the church, so you're still connected.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so now we get a sense of the process of the filmmaking, and but as I said, we have the luxury of having two other people here. One of them is sitting right to me is Rikko. I will get back to you in about, let's say, 5 or 7 minutes. But I'm so glad that I'm going to announce Barbara Easley-Cox. Barbara, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
Barbara, We are going to watch a short clip of the movie, and then I will get back to you. Is that the deal?
Yes.
Okay, see you in a jiff. Okay, start the clip, please.
Wow. It's still raining, but my view here is of the church. And as long as the church stands, I'll stay here. Yeah. My husband, Don Cox, and our son, Jonathan Cox. Yeah. That was about 1970, 71. He was my husband and my comrade in the Black Panther Party. Yeah. I think it was about 66 when the Black Panther Party was formed, and about 67, I joined them. And that was a great adventure. It was like another type of education, if you will. And as you can see, I still have memories. A servant of the people, I consider myself. And that started during the Black Panther Party days up to now. And working in a soup kitchen without pay, 4 or 5 days a week, you service those less fortunate than yourself. Whether you're chopping up onions, lifting weights, serving them coffee, water, tea, you're part of a group collective.
Barbara, I would, because, Black Panthers, I hope that people know it in Holland a little bit from the past. It's just a matter of knowledge of history. But correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong, but I would like to hear your comment. In my, I thought, Black Panthers, there was kind of leftish, Marxistic, Leninistic, communistic people. And now I see a former Black Panther in a church. I couldn't, rhyme it together. So tell me something about your special background as a Black Panther to the church. Clarify.
Well, first I would like to state I am not a former Black Panther. I am a Black Panther.
Boom. Boom, you are a Black Panther. Go on.
Yes.
Okay.
And secondly, all of those previous gentlemen that you mentioned with the isms, we also have a history of African-American history in America. So it wasn't just that we were Marxists, Leninists, communists, socialists. Those are just titles. Those are things that we studied in terms of understanding where are we now. So going from the adventures I had as a Black Panther, I took all that with me. If you consider yourself a servant of the people and you want to use the expression, all power to the people.
Yeah.
It goes on for life. It's like studying to be a medical doctor. Just because you go to some place and they've never heard of a doctor doesn't mean you still don't treat them. So my education, bachelor's, master's in the Black Panther Party, prepared me for life. And I can never stop being a servant of the people. And the Church of the Advocate, as Peter said, it has nothing to do with a particular religion. It has more to do with your spirit and your humanism to help others besides yourself.
I get it, yeah. So can I say, or please comment on that, that there are more people like you from your background are still working in houses of God?
Perhaps not necessarily with my background, but when you look at all religions, and they all say the same thing, in the image of your God, your deity, and you use that deity as an example.
Yeah.
So how can you not be helpful to others who are less fortunate than yourself? And I know that looking at the world today, I do believe, and I'm encouraged with the youth who have taken on the history, and they're doing it. So I don't think it has anything to do per se with that period of time, civil rights, women's rights, gay rights. I think they've taken the lesson of history, and they're doing it. So we did something good. I feel good about the life I led.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Sonka. I'm going to, I have the kind of same questions for our pastor here, Rikko. I'm so glad that you are here to tell us something about, maybe what the church or the churches in Holland do regarding to working for the people or helping ease, elevate the pain or injustice. Could you please tell us something about that, going back till now? What's the current situation?
Sure. Never enough is the first answer.
Okay.
For there is so much pain and so much trouble, so much hardship. And churches, of course, you're like any organization, also involved with keeping your organization running. Mm-hmm. But there have always been and will always be people who just reach out to the pastors or to the owners of the church or to the people in the lead and saying, hey, this family or this group or this cause needs your attention. And we had this great example just some time ago with the church asylum in the Netherlands, where we were fighting for the rights of kids who have been staying here for 5 years because the system just couldn't decide within these 5 years. And then we said, and scientists said, then kids should be able to stay with their families. But the government refused to say, no, they have to go out. So there was a church asylum case where we had 24 hours of church service every day for months. More than 1,000 people have been pastors in that church, lay people, clerical people, whatever. And just every day, 24 hours a day, because if there's a church service going on, the police can't come inside. That's the deal in the Netherlands. It's a gentleman's agreement, but it's usually honored.
Okay, so you are as a church, as a people of religion, you are active in the society, elevating injustice, hardship.
Well, we always have to fight for it within the church as well. But there are always very good cases. So there are pastors housing people there. Here in Amsterdam, there have been lots of churches just housing people for a moment. But still, there's so many challenges, and so many people have to be hit in the heart as well, that social justice is the heart of the church, as René said in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, are you harboring, sheltering people who might not be religious?
For sure.
Or other religions than Christianity?
There's no question about that. There's no question about their backgrounds. It's about, hey, we have this. I like the word sanctuary. It's a holy space. It's not yours. So you're not defining who can come in. Yeah. The one thing is that it's not the space of the government, but it's the space of, it's a holy space. So even the government should respect that. And they do. That's a special thing of churches. Yeah. So and then they're in there, and you have to you're connecting, you're talking with politics and everything, but you have to also stand your ground and say, hey, you cannot take away the basic needs of people in order to make your policies work. Yeah. It's just can't be done.
Okay. As I said, the main subject, for the discussion for you, four of you, would be about the situation of undocumented people in Holland, maybe Europe, and definitely in United States, because we know the situation. We have seen the documentary, very interesting, the Carmela situation. But I just want to ask one question about the current situation, about how the church in general is or is not in the society. For example, right now, I have a question for Rikko, but I will get the same question I will ask Barbara in a few minutes. Rikko, how about right now the Black Lives Matter? Yeah. About racism. Maybe it's me, but I haven't heard the churches in Holland telling something about that, raising their voice. Am I right?
No, they have been.
They have been,
definitely,
okay, thank God.
Definitely.
Okay, that's good.
But the thing is, there's always a division. Like a society, there's division in church as well. Like you have the people who just stand on their privilege and say, no, this is our God-given privilege. And the other ones say, no, this is our God-given responsibility to stand in line with the people of Black Lives Matter. There's been a huge protest here in the Bijlmer of pastors in Amsterdam, of pastors alone, but also pastors joining. So there's been lots of...
You are right, because there were religious people on the stage. Yeah, just about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, sure.
There is a special section for them. They did their
They did an
voice
extra one because there's lots of migrant churches as well. Yeah. I mean, there's black churches as well. So it's not that there's a white church having to take care of black people in any way. It's just joining people who are part of your own community, and also if they're not part of your community, but you just stand for their rights. Yeah. Okay, Barbara, the same question for you. How is the situation in the United States when it comes to the situation of the churches and Black Lives Matter or anti-racism demonstrations? Are they active? Are they pronounced?
Not as pronounced as perhaps we would like them to be, okay?
Elaborate, please.
I'm talking to my sister who goes to church every Sunday, and I'm saying, what have we heard from the Baptists and other denominations? But it reminds me of the 60s, when the whole Black Power movement came up. A lot of religious leaders had problems with that. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as the sanctuary movement goes, I would only say that I would really like to be in California, Texas, Arizona, where the immigrants are coming from. But what I've also heard is people from Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, that you would consider Black. So I'm not qualified to give you a full answer on that. And as far as Black Lives Matter goes, that's still to be determined in my mind.
I get it. Okay, I get it. So let's dig into the main question. As I said, the undocumented people. But I have to mention that the documentary and what happens in the church, let's say, the church in that church, in this soup kitchen and the mess and everything. Let's say the church. What happens that it's about gentrification, it's about the police violence, it's about injustice in general, a lot of topics you touch, and those people like Barbara touch. But one of the issues is about undocumented people, injustice toward them, and especially the case of Carmela. Yeah, Carmela and her 4 children, they have escaped from the violence in Mexico and seeking shelter in the church in an open way, because they mentioned we are going there to get shelter. So the authorities, let's say the migration police, ICE, I guess they call it, ICE, ICE, they know that they are there. They know that the bus is coming to take the children to the school. So it was like, act of, I don't know, revolutionary act to say we are going there. So let's watch the short clip about Carmela and her 4 children, and then talk about the situation of the undocumented people in Holland and in the United States, okay?
This morning, the Reverend Dr. Renee McKenzie welcomed Carmela and her 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys, ranging in age from 9 to 15, to the Church of the Advocate at 1801 Diamond in North Philadelphia. Carmela, an undocumented immigrant from Mexico, and her undocumented children asked the church to take them in as the family fights deportation orders. She's been seeking asylum in the U.S. for 2 years now, and she will remain here at the Church of the Advocate while her legal battle continues.
So we're not harboring, right? And so that's the biggest distinction. So we're not.
This morning, the Reverend Dr.
Started the clip again because we missed the final seconds.
This morning, the Reverend Dr. Renee McKenzie welcomed Carmela and her 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys, ranging in age from 9 to 15, to the Church of the Advocate at 1801 Diamond in North Philadelphia. Carmela, an undocumented immigrant from Mexico, and her undocumented children asked the church to take them in as the family fights deportation orders. She's been seeking asylum in the U.S. for 2 years now, and she will remain here at the Church of the Advocate while her legal battle continues.
So we're not harboring, right? And so that's the biggest distinction. So we're not hiding, we're not harboring, we're just offering sanctuary, which means that it is a public act. Everybody, the ICE officials know that Carmela's in the building. Clearly, we've publicized it in so many different ways, with elected officials being present. So we're clearly not hiding Carmela.
Ay, hola.
How are you?
How are you? Bien.
You all set?
¿Está lista?
Sí.
Es muy difícil estar aquí en Santuario, pero las fuerzas todavía las tenemos con mis hijos.
It's difficult being here in Sanctuary, but we still have strength, me and my children.
Y siento que no se va a acabar hasta que todo se termine y podamos ser libres y quedarnos aquí.
But I feel like we are still going to fight. None of this is going to end until we are all free and we can be here.
Still, the threat it remains that, the officials, the ICE officials could decide that they want to get a bench warrant, and they have the option of pressing this. And if they produce a bench warrant, then we have to let them have access to Carmela. We're not trying to skirt the law in any way. And the truth is that I could potentially face a 5-year jail sentence for this. I recognize all of that. But still, I still go back to this, well, what's the most important thing? And the most important thing is to provide care and protection.
I have a question first. I would like to discuss the question, this subject in the United States, and then with you, especially Rikko, in Holland or maybe in Europe, because I know you visit, for example, Greece and other southern countries in Europe. So that's my question. I start off with Barbara, but at the same time for you too. How big is this subject, is this issue of undocumented people in the United States, Barbara?
It is, it's very big. We're not hearing that much recently because of the coronavirus. But like I had stated earlier, if I was on the West Coast,
yeah,
where you have Mexico, Latin America, etc., it seems to be affecting that population of Americans. But when watching Carmela and her family, I thought to myself, even now, if someone said you can never go home, I can't imagine how my heart would take that. So no matter what country you're in, If you're undocumented, an immigrant of sorts, and you're looking for a better life, what can you do? But my bottom line is, like Reverend Renee said, can we provide care and hope for those individuals?
Okay. For the directors, the same question because I know when you are shooting, you are making a documentary, you do a lot of research in general about the subject matter. So could you please tell us something about the undocumented people in the United States?
Sure.
And if you know anything about their rights or maybe lack of rights,
Sure.
and is there a distinction between minors and underage refugees or not? Please tell us something about it.
Yeah, when we started filming, I guess the most interesting, you can see how the political situation has changed in the U.S., especially for sanctuary cases, right? Because Carmela, when she decided to take this extreme step, she'd read about a case in Philadelphia, someone taking sanctuary, and he had been in sanctuary for 100 days. So that was kind of the expectation, because the cases would tend to be successful. Now it's going on 3 years, and she's still in sanctuary.
3 years.
Yeah. Wow. So, but in terms of the numbers, and I can't tell you so much about undocumented in general. That's in the millions, right?
Yeah.
But people who are taking sanctuary in churches are still really quite small in such a huge country with so many undocumented people. When we were doing the film, there was only about 40 to 50 cases in the U.S. Even though there's about 800 churches and of different denominations, right, that are part of this new sanctuary movement, who are basically say, well, if someone comes along, and that's what happened to the Church of the Advocate. Someone called them up from this office saying,
Yeah, maybe it's also good to explain a bit about what sanctuary, because there's also sanctuary cities in the U.S.
Yes, please tell us something
sure.
about, because it's an official term, yeah?
Yeah, that tends to be a little confusing, but it's a separate issue. For example, Philadelphia is a sanctuary city, and there's cities all around the U.S., and those are ones who say, we will not cooperate with ICE, with the immigration police. So if you're arrested by the police, we will not put you in the national database, so the immigration authorities will get you.
So that's like the policy of the
cities.
county of
They
the
say we will
city.
not cooperate with the federal government.
So it's institutionalized civil disobedience.
Yeah.
Nice way to put it. Thank you. Okay, good. And I guess, we have about 11 millions of dreamers.
Right.
Yes, yeah. 11 millions of dreamers, in the United States, Rikko, by the way, if there are any questions from the audience, you can go to the Zoom and send a question through Q&A to us. And so the line is open. The same question for you, but especially about the situation in Holland. Mm-hmm. And maybe Europe, because I know you have been around the block. So tell us something about the undocumented people and their rights, and maybe there is a distinction between minors, not minors. What happens when someone gets 18 years old,
Sure.
Please.
The biggest problem that started when government decided that if we can't get people out of the country, we'll just remove them administratively. We'll just, if people are out of procedure, so they're not acknowledged as a refugee, then they cannot stay. So they have to leave the country. Mm-hmm. So we send them away, but people don't go away. Mm-hmm. So then it becomes the problem of the person in case to stay anywhere, but we just cross his or her name out of the book as it's not our responsibility anymore. Well, this person is still there. So somebody in government came up with this idea, let's erase somebody administratively, so we don't have any responsibility anymore. But the bodies of the people are still here. So that's where quite a few problems starts. And what happens is, of course, kids who are underage have more possibilities of protection, but still if they're with the family and they're evicted, they have to go. So what happened is 2 years ago with the church asylum case, I knew the girl.
Excuse me?
Yeah, there was a church asylum case in the Netherlands, a church sanctuary. The girl I knew via some of the people who are very active in taking care of the young people in the Netherlands. And she called and she said, I'm going to be taken into custody tomorrow and will be sent out to a country which I don't know and which is very, very dangerous to me. And I happen to know the pastor of the church he was visiting. So I just called him. He was on his holidays. I said, can you do something? He said, what can I do? I said, well, you can do two things. You can write a piece to the newspaper, you can phone the mayor, or you can start a church asylum case. And church asylum hadn't been around for, I think, 20 years. In the 90s, there were church asylum cases everywhere in the Netherlands. Quite a lot of places. And there hasn't been anyone. And this very small church, with about 4 or 5 old people leading it, they came together that night with the girl and with Esther, who was helping out. And they said, okay, you are welcome in the church. And from that moment, there was this first church asylum case, public as well. Lots of noise about it, lots of struggle, as also with religious people saying you cannot stand against the government in that way. But they did. But then, because they didn't want to have this 24-hour service, our immigration officers said, we're going to come into the church after a couple of weeks. They said, we're going to come into the church tomorrow. So when we heard that night, there was a pastor there, and Esther was there, and some others, and we just went out that night, drove to another city, to a bigger church, who said, we're going to stand for these people. And it was very scary. I was not sleeping that night. I had my phone open next to my pillow, hoping that she wouldn't get arrested that night. And she wasn't. And then after a couple of days, she was in this church, and it became like in the city of The Hague. That was the beauty of it. I mean, that's our government city.
Yeah.
And there was this church opposing government, or saying to government, it's not even opposing, it's saying to government, listen, you might have made a mistake.
Yeah.
This is wrong, what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening. And the situation of people in Europe is indeed at all of our borders. They talked about the Mexican border, but we've got a lot of Mexican borders in the Netherlands. The European borders are the most deadly borders in the world at the moment. And what you see at the borders, people are trying to cross. Just today I heard a 17-year-old boy from Kashmir, India, was on his own, trying to cross from Bosnia to Italy, because in Italy you're more safe. Mm-hmm. And we hadn't heard about him for 3 days. And we were all very scared that he was dead somewhere, walked into a minefield, or just captured, or whatever. But no, the person we knew, she was a close friend, said, no, it's a good thing. If you don't hear about them, it's good news. Because if they're catched, you'll hear it. Okay. So just today I heard it was in Slovenia, and so he was not in Croatia, and Croatia used just to beat the hell out of people and send them back. So he had reached Slovenia, so maybe he will be fine. There's another one just in my chat just asking, I need a job. Now I'm in Italy, but if I don't get a job, an illegal job that is, then I have to be sent back. So we're with these people in Europe that are feeling something for like humanity for the people that are entering. We're just trying to find loopholes in this system that's trying to make us not care. Yeah. That's the basic function of the system at the moment, to make us not care. Yeah. And we do. So.
Yeah. Corinne and Peter, by the way, after the movie is finished, in a way, in an old-fashioned way, you can say the movie is finished. I hope, I will get accepted at festivals, people will watch it. But a movie like this, maybe it deserves more, like a second life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. in the real life, in the outside world. Do you have any ideas, any suggestions how to do that? Maybe as they call it nowadays, like an impact program. Yeah. Is there anything like that?
Yeah, we just introduced that last week, and Rikko was also there, because that's how also we got kind of involved together, because we want to help with this film. The film can be a small contribution to organizations who want to create social impact. So we're going to hopefully set up impact screenings with Rikko, and we are now looking into several organizations in the Netherlands. We've done an big impact screening in the US.
Oh, really?
Where we raised money for the soup kitchen. Yeah. So I guess with the budget that we raised, because the soup kitchen is in need of money.
We raised $5,000 at a screening.
So it's 5 more months of soup kitchen. Yeah. And especially now with the corona crisis is important, because there's still providing free food every day on the outside table.
Yeah,
Now.
yeah.
And
I will ask Barbara in a second about the current situation of.
But if there's anyone who would like to somehow use the film for impact, then there is a website. It's angelsondiamondstreet.com, and there's a toolkit for what you can do with impact.
Great.
And the TV broadcast will be in November, around the elections in the US. So until that time, we can also offer the film as a kind of a sneak preview. So that's nice.
Oh, great. Smart. Rikko?
Yeah, we do. I hope we can create, it's called a new sanctuary movement, and I think we definitely need that now in the Netherlands, a new sanctuary movement.
Because we don't have that concept in Holland.
No, there's a couple of organizations that are trying to help out, but we don't have coverage. And tomorrow there's 27 kids here put out in the streets in Amsterdam only. There's the 1st of August. There's more than 100. These are very vulnerable young people often who have no street skills and have no way of getting around. Mm-hmm. And we need churches who say we have a place and we do it publicly. Because if you do it publicly, maybe the government will change its mind. And if you can't do it publicly, then do it secretly. Because there's no way that somebody who's out on the streets can work on the future. You're just surviving in the day. So the worst government policy is when somebody is in a corner, you start beating them into the corner to make the person disappear from that corner. It's just, realistically speaking, the most stupid way of acting with people. So we need to create little spaces. Yeah. And we can't do it right. Yeah. We will make all kinds of mistakes. Yeah. But we need to be there.
Yeah, okay. Barbara, I have a question for you. Because in the documentary we saw quite at the end of the movie that the soup kitchen had to be, let's say, finished, to be gone. And so, and now the director said that they raised some money. So how is the situation right now? That's one question. And the other question is, what's the impact of Corona, COVID-19 on your work?
Well,
soup kitchen.
Soup kitchen, okay. Basically, after Peter and Corinne had done the film and they raised the money, that helped. But also, we were trying harder to raise funds, grants, etc. But when the Corona-19 came along, we couldn't have the soup kitchen anymore. So we started bagging lunches, and we would put a table out front. And as long as they came with a mask, we would give them a bag with water, food, a variety of things. But now with the coronavirus, we've had a generous support from different, companies that supply food. A lot of people don't eat, but they take it. We've had, and that has worked very well. But I wanted to say something that Rikko brought up. I remember years ago, back late 70s, early 80s, and in Europe, just like in America, you've had the immigrants who would come in and work, cheap labor. But when they started actually wanting to become citizens and live in these Western countries, I saw a lot of racism, and I still see it. They can come and work, but you don't want them living in your country. Yeah. So the question of homeless children, we know that well in America.
Yeah. One more question for you, because we are now entering the last 10 minutes. That was this, I guess it was you reciting a poem of the poet, what was it?
Langston Hughes.
Langston Hughes.
Langston Hughes, am I right?
It was,
It was Renee.
Oh, no, excuse me. No, it was Renee.
Renee.
No, it was Renee. It was Renee.
But Barbara knows him very well. So.
Do you know this poet?
I think when Peter was in my house, and there's a mass, and behind the mass is 4 pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And Langston Hughes' piece is called "The Mask We Wear on Our Face." So you can't see us crying, you can't see our pain, you can't see certain things. But we wear this mask so you won't be offended. Those aren't the words, but that's the general idea.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. By the way, one more question for you. Maybe like a final question. Because you said, in the clip we saw it and in the documentary, you are saying we are taking care of the less fortunate people. My thing is go out and volunteer somewhere. Don't stay at home and give back. You give back. Just one more time, after hearing you for about, let's say, half an hour, what's the root of that idea? Where does it come from?
Well, perhaps your Bible, perhaps your Quran,
Go on.
perhaps your books. But the bottom line is, you know how well people take care of their dogs and their cats. I want to do that for people.
Okay, great. Rikko?
Well, it's something refugees say, all from the beaches of Lesbos and Greece until here in Europe. You Europeans take better care of your dogs and cats than of us.
Yeah.
We feel less acknowledged. They're dogs and cats, so I'm very happy that Barbara's taking this job.
Okay, I know. In a way, that's what Barbara and other people are doing in the church, and just volunteer work. Just helping out people. And I wonder, if I ask you, 3 of you, what can we do? When we are especially talking about undocumented people, what can I, and I means maybe me, as just a citizen of Holland, or maybe as a city of Amsterdam, what can we do to help undocumented people? I will start with the directors, and then I will end up with the man of God. Is it okay? Okay,
Sure.
Let's see.
Yeah. Difficult question. I think the best answer is on Barbara's remarks and that's why we made the film, so you're inspired by people to become a better person in general. And part of that, of course, is generosity and compassion to everybody around you. And to realize that we're all the same, we're all equal. It doesn't matter where you're from, what color you are, what you believe in, we're all the same.
Okay.
Yeah, and we
how
especially like the sentence that Pastor Renee uses when she says everybody deserves a place at the table.
Yeah.
And what we really want to tell with this film is a message of inclusivity. There is no way that you can deny other people the rights that you have yourself.
Okay. Rikko, as I said, I will have the same question for you, and I will definitely end this session, let's say in 5 minutes, with Barbara, and I want you to know, because you have been around the block yourself, I just wanted to know how do you cope maybe with that mechanism of history is repeating, in a negative way, that nothing really changes, How do you see that, So that will be my final question for you, to look back and where are we now, But first for Rikko, what can we do here in Amsterdam, for example, for undocumented people?
That's quite simple. Just get connected.
Go on.
There's food. There's places where food is distributed. That's where you meet people. But we have to be willing to meet people. There's the World House in the Netherlands. In Amsterdam. Het Wereldhuis.
Yeah.
Just go there and have a coffee. It's as simple as that. And once you're connected, you recognize, hey, there's something wrong, because we're equal, but you're not living in a house and I am. And maybe I can't house you, but I know somebody who can, maybe. Or I can put on Facebook a request for you. So you get into this system. You have to push ourselves, that's what I keep telling people, push ourselves bodily into the situation of people that are less fortunate than us. Yeah. Not because we are better, but to become the people we want to be. Yeah. And I think it's not even about them, it's not even about helping, it's about becoming who you are. You're missing out on life, on spirituality, on heart, on soul, if you not take your chance and just get connected. And there's lots of possibilities. You just have to Google on what's happening in the different cities of the Netherlands, and then just walk in, have a coffee. That's how it started with me all the time. Just push yourself into the situation and say, "Hey, I'm here. Shall we sit down and have a coffee?"
Cool, thank you. Barbara, as I said, the final note is like Jerry Springer, the final thought, and I'm sure you are capable. Yeah, I know my heroes. Yes. And I'm sure that you are capable of finishing up in, let's say, 2.5 minutes. As I said, history is repeating. Don't you get tired?
No.
Go on.
There's an African proverb that says, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. But in this age of technology, and you can go on your smartphone, history for dummies, okay?
Yeah.
And I see young people learning things. I see them thinking. Now, if the deities will permit me, I want to be around another 20 years and see where this moment takes us. But I'll be here answering any questions you might have.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you are here, even you are not here, you are here, thanks to technology again. So on that note, I'm going to thank the documentary makers. Thank Rikko and thank Barbara and all the people you cannot see because they are working very hardly, in churches like in Barbara or Wereld House, or even here, people working behind the scene to make this, to realize this program, the producers and the technicians of Pakhuis Zwijger and Movies That Matter. Thank you so much for making this possible. And in September, we will come back with these screenings and talks. So please keep an eye on Movies That Matter website or Pakhuis Zwijger. And I know, it's a very difficult time for all of us, especially financially, But if you might have, something, if you have something, to pay, pay as you like. Pay as you like, So go to the website. We can see it now behind me, Pay as you like. Maybe we can continue this, in just a little bit easier way. But on that note, I'm going to wave to Barbara. Barbara, thank you. We are all waving to you. Okay, thank you so much. God bless you. And I hope to see you in, because it's Corona time, in better times. Okay, bye-bye. Bye.